Deathloop is a first-person shooter made by Arcane Studios, released on September 13th, 2021 under Arcane's homemade engine Void. After the huge blow-away success of Dishonored and its underwhelming yet underrated sibling, Deathloop was an attempt to continue what made Dishonored special while adding their own ideas into the mix while avoiding Dishonored's original story to allow more creative freedom, which seems to have worked out in their favor. This game in specific has been receiving a ton of positive attention everywhere, even making it to the contendees of Game of the Year. A lot of people are saying this game is a flawless masterpiece that will be remembered forever, and those people are dumb. Listen, I love this game and what it sets out to do, but I can't call it a flawless masterpiece, especially with a huge amount of issues it suffers from both gameplay and story-wise. That's not even mentioning its exclusivity to PlayStation, despite Bethesda, and therefore Arcane, being owned by Microsoft, and its horrible launch state feeling like history was repeating itself quite a bit. So let me explain to you everything right and wrong about this game, and how I feel it can improve upon its next adventure, since I am way too positive this game will get a sequel. I mean, if Dishonored's hype got a sequel, why not Deathloop? I'm going to be closely examining this game along with its sibling Dishonored 2, as even I can admit Deathloop is just Dishonored with guns. But I feel like this will better explain my gripes with the game and how I feel it betters and worsens the experience at the same time, so spoiler warning for both of these games. I also ended up changing my setup, so some clips may look like a spotless AK rendered video and others will look like I just used Bandicam on a Windows Vista. Anyways, I guess the obvious place to start is the The gameplay loop of Deathloop is pretty similar to Dishonored, but again, with guns. Thankfully, it doesn't just slap how it works from that game into this one. All the guns here feel pretty unique in terms of design, animation, sounds, and feel. A lot of them have distinct roles they fill, even if other guns can beat out how well that job is done. The animation for melee kills in specific are still very satisfying here.
Depends on
They've also made kick binded to a button so you can do what's called doing a donkey.
Welcome to Kickloop.
Guess they don't teach flyboys.
Welcome to Kickloop. Welcome to Kickloop. Welcome to Kickloop. Welcome to Kickloop. Welcome to Kickloop.
The world feels amazing, being as open-ended as ever, being much bigger than Arcane's normal levels, which in itself is impressive considering they've made 4 variations of each level, technically meaning there are around 16 levels to explore, ignoring when you can't actually explore them. The art style and design of the maps and characters are amazing too, feeling like a comic version of if you made Dishonored bright and cheerful. The roguelike system combined with the infusion system also makes this game feel a bit like an RPG, finding the visionaries with big guns and slabs to steal and infuse them, to use on them again, taking their stuff again, and so on and so forth. The game is incredibly fast-paced too, which can make you feel like you're playing a boomer shooter if you crank up your FOV, grab a pistol, and one-shot everything in the head, sliding each time you turn a corner. Another one of Deathloop's strengths is just how much the music just slaps. Just listen to it. I feel like this was a great way to one-up the gameplay of Dishonored 2, taking everything that made it satisfying and just adding more and more onto it and making it the focal point of the game. You always get the flashy, fun parts everyone enjoys, and it makes the game an overall enjoyable experience. Okay, I'm done praising this game now. Where's the block button? Seriously, where is my block button? I understand that Deathloop has a much heavier emphasis on guns, but is that really an excuse to remove blocking? Especially when all my right click does is focus on the target, like, why isn't there just a block? The more enemies spawn, the laggier the game gets as well, which granted is an issue for both of these games, but it's a bigger issue with Deathloop. Even after I turned my setup from a this to a this, the game still dropped frames, I assume from the sheer amount of bullets being thrown at you. Also, why can't letting you take out enemies non-lethally. You had the choice between being a pacifist and a killer in the second Dishonored, allowing you to adapt a much more non-lethal route even if your playstyle was simply aggressive, allowing you to enter combat and cause mayhem without actually killing anyone. Here, it's just kill them all, Colt. Kill them all. The same goes for the targets. Because you can only kill the targets, there's pretty much only one way you can kill the target, which ironically makes the game feel more linear, despite it trying to appear even more open than Arkane's other games. In Dishonored, it gives you an entirely secondary objective to follow if you wanted to avoid bloodshed, either being really easy tasks to complete or weird puzzles based off old literature or something. Why didn't they offer multiple ways to take out your target at the very least? Like a Hitman level. The whole point of the game is to find the best way to kill all 8 targets in one day anyways, so why not offer multiple ways to complete that objective the way the player wants? It feels entirely counterintuitive for the design of the game, and therefore it feels much more linear and strict, which is even worse that you don't have a direct storyline or quest to follow, just objectives to complete to gain information. I can see a lot of people quitting during their playthrough, getting bored of just watching people talk about stuff they don't care about just because the game feels so boring when you're completing these instead of going out and just murdering people. Plus, Juliana really isn't that hard to beat, especially offline, so the challenge factor is basically non-existent because the AI are very, very brain dead. I didn't see this as an issue in Dishonored 2 because it made up the brain dead AI for enemy variation, or seeing multiple types of enemies like a normal guard, witches, dogs, clockwork soldiers, men. In Deathloop, everyone is literally the same, just that some are equipped with a big shiny slab that lets you commit death easier. But hey, that's just my opinion. At least you can do this. Okay, this is the start of a bit much. This is really where the spoilers come in, so cover your ears if you're in a classroom or something. Deathloop's story is definitely one of the most unique yet generic stories I've seen, at least in terms of Arkane's standards. Everything here has an amazing setup and genuinely intrigues you despite the simplistic nature of the game, or even if it goes the direction you'd expect it to go. Colt and Juliana's conversations are honestly the best part here, since they mix so well together, being incredibly humorous, informative, and most of all, build each other's characters according to their goal.
Ugh, you always fall for the same old just once, please. Can you try your hardest to make this interesting?
Whoa. What the is this?
Carnices. You're gonna give me that attitude?
Wow. I didn't know you liked to party.
Ain't my style.
You're all business all the time, aren't you? What is your style, exactly?
Chit-chatting when I should be killing, apparently.
All I ever wanted was for you to surprise me. Do something different, anything.
I'm disappointing you. Good.
You know it's going to be disappointing. Trying to figure out which one is Alexis. Best of luck. Remember saying, with the state of the world today, eons are only hope for the future.
Proof for it never happened.
With the state of the world today, eons are only hope for the future.
Who are you going to be today, Colt? Is there anyone left you haven't turned on?
Wait, I turn you on?
I turn you off.
However, despite the interesting story, this game explains almost everything else about the story that isn't Colt and Juliana in the worst way possible. Text! No! That words! This was such a perfect opportunity to show off the Visionaries' personalities and how they act around people, but they do it like once, and that's literally it. The rest is shown from videotapes or from text. At least in Dishonored, you could literally speak through the targets or watch them do really, really messed up things to the people around them, which gave them a perfect representation of their personality, as well as helped you to either love or hate them, which could massively contribute to whether or not you chose to save or kill them. Here, they just say nerd stuff and die. But where the game is really interesting and actually shows you what's going on is through Colt or Juliana's story. To give you a basic rundown, Colt was sent in time by an experimental plane his crew launched him on, which caused him to join a group of visionaries in order to achieve time travel so he can return to his wife. Upon completing it, he discovered that the time machine was only designed to loop a single day over and over, which he found as dangerous and hurtful to his newly found daughter he discovered had belonged to his wife. After his dissatisfaction, it caused him to lose interest in the project, leading him to become bored, and thus lose his memory. Suddenly, he's a cult waking up on a beach only knowing everyone wants him dead. So he tries to break the loop for 17 years, going through multiple cults or just timelines of him forgetting and trying different things the other cults didn't do. You know, a time loop. The one glaring flaw in his plan, however, was Juliana. She learned to enjoy the hunt that Colt gave, and thus gained her interest in the project, allowing her to remember each loop the same way Colt does. And that's why they're on an endless cycle of killing each other. Because they find it fun. What the fuck? That's not even mentioning the twist which makes almost every joke Colt has made towards Juliana extremely awkward afterwards. Remember those funny haha sex lines? In one of the bunkers, a note very explicitly reveals one of the game's biggest twists that even makes Colt freak out. Juliana is your daughter.
Wait, I turn you on?
Doesn't that just make you feel happy each time you stab her? This game also follows another arcane tradition of having an amazing setup for an ending, only to fall very, very short. After murdering all of the visionaries, you zoom to the device that sets the loop up by using the old plane you flew all those years ago. Finally confronting Juliana, the game doesn't explicitly tell you, but she can die at pretty much any moment you want. You have the choice to end the loop each and every time she's on frame in this scene. It's an amazing way for you to decide what happens to her. But then this plays.
Are these antiques even gonna fire?
If you pull the trigger,
And if I don't,
amazing things. Other worlds, other times.
where we kill each other?
Sounds like fun. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Juliana! You liar! You liar! This was what you wanted? This was your big plan? To just die? Then what? Hope I don't finish the job? That's the best you've got? It's worked before, man. Gotta give her that. So what'll it be? Juliana. It, worked? Okay. Here goes.
Wait a minute, what? Believe it or not, that's technically the wrong choice, but also the right one. I may sound like an absolute crazed maniac here, but I imagine the game wants you to save Juliana, both because the title of the game, the implication that Colt has done this exact scene dozens of times, the second ending I won't show because I feel like the game wants it to be the true ending, and I don't want to show you everything the game has to offer. Why don't you go find out yourself? But also taking in a kind of meta commentary, saying that even playing the game means you're entering the loop again, constantly fighting and killing and hunting down everyone, continuing the loop even if you broke the loop in the ending. This is also supported by the dialogue the game plays when you enter the scene a second time. And yes, I did do this 3 times because I hate myself. This gives off the vibe that the only true way to break the loop is to simply stop playing the game. Stop continuing the cycle. You did your job. You got what you wanted. You can leave this place for good, and you never have to think of Black Reef ever again. I both love and hate this kind of meta commentary because it gives off a real sense that the game is aware that you keep playing it, and therefore you never really break the loop, making it obvious what you actually have to do to end the cycle. But I hate it because all it basically says is delete me, which I respond by deleting the game and forgetting it ever existed, which is probably going to anger the developers. So which one is it, guys? Come on. I'm sure most people won't care though, because Colt did the sex funny joke. For the sake of the video, We're gonna be suffering through going online with strangers, disgusting strangers, other people, by
But
invading their...
But you have me.
I do have you, but you're not in the game. If it was with you, that would be funny. Now, this is just a random guy I'm gonna invade, so it's either gonna go semi-smoothly, or it's just gonna be a shit show.
Hopefully it's Joe.
Basically, I'm just gonna play as Juliana. Like, you know how whenever she invades your loop, she tries to hunt you down? That's basically what you do. You just play as Juliana whenever she's invading someone's timeline, and you yourself have to try to kill him. And if you do, you get extra points as your rank, so that you can get better guns and perks and stuff, so that you can just do it better. It's weird. But the only way I'm gonna get through the anxiety is if I just hit invade random timeline. So that's just what I'm doing. It's for the sake of the video. It's for the sake of pure review and playing the whole game and making a 20-minute video that no one else is gonna watch except my class. They're gonna be forced to watch anyway, and I don't know what I'm saying. I'm saying words now. Yeah, this isn't much to write home about. It likely uses peer-to-peer connection instead of actual servers, meaning your experience is entirely dependent on the other person also owning a decent internet if you actually want to do anything. Like, seriously, what's going on screen? Like, can you tell me anything that's happening?
But you didn't play it for long enough. You probably only played just a single match and called it bad, didn't you?
I played up all the way to max rank, unlocked every gun, every mod, every slab, every skin, just to say, this game mode's alright. It's not that bad, it's not good. If you have a friend, it's fun, but it's likely hard to set up since they need to have just started the game with a visionary in the level, meaning matchmaking actually works better. But matchmaking means playing with randoms whose internet is running on a potato, so I'm not even sure if this works either. Plus, when people stop playing this game, this mode basically goes down too, so I'm not really sure if this is worth the investment. Just ignore this mode unless you have time to kill. So, Deathloop. Is it a good successor? Well, I'd say so. Despite its many flaws, I can't deny that the game is still incredibly fun to play, and especially for someone who's never played a game like Dishonored, Dying Light, or even Cyberpunk. This gameplay might feel like a whole new take and freshen them up to a new wave of boomer shooters they'll end up buying on Steam.
But how did this game win an award in Game of the Year?